My guest today is Travis from Landry Pop Auctions, one of the fastest growing auction houses in the pop culture and collectibles space. You've also seen him on TV as one of the familiar faces from Antiques Roadshow, helping people uncover the stories and value behind some truly incredible items. Welcome today. We're talking to Travis Landry from Landry Pop Auctions. And first and foremost, I know I talked to you a while back at Elite Comics Expo last year, but I've been dying to get you back here on the podcast. And thank you for joining us today. I think there's a lot of people out there who kind of need to know what you're doing at Landry Pop. And I know right now you have some amazing books that are coming up for auction.
I appreciate it, Lawrence. Thank you for having me back. And it's great. Yeah, we have the Vault sale coming up next week, February 10th. 66 comic books of the best power we can put together. And yeah, we're busy. I mean, it's been nonstop, just pedal to the metal, building LPA.
So let's take it back a little bit, because there are people out there who may not know who you are. So for the people who don't know you yet, how do you originally get into auctions and collectibles?
Yeah, so this is all I have ever done my entire life. I mean, literally 12 years old, started working at an auction house on a Friday night for 20 bucks as a runner, like the person that holds up an item. Born and bred in auctions. My parents, they didn't work in the trade. They just collected material, but like American art, pottery, Victorian furniture. So it's all I know, and I love the action of auctions. When I was in high school, really started chasing collections to buy and sell. I had a little break where I ended up with a role on Travel Channel's Toy Hunter, which lasted 3 seasons, and that really gave me like that kind of TV bug, and just expanded my contacts of people I could find and people I could deal with, and that knowledge base. And that lasted my senior year in high school, basically through the beginning of my sophomore year in college. And from that point, I knew like I no longer wanted to study nuclear engineering, and I steered into the skid to deal with comics, collectibles, toys, and everything I've loved since I was a kid.
That is amazing. Going from nuclear, engineering to the collectible space. That's quite like a 180, right? That's crazy.
My brother is like an actual, I dare to say genius, but he's a Harvard PhD chemist. I always thought that was the way I needed to go. Toy Hunter pushed me forward, but it didn't really give me the itch until I remember, like, I'm sitting in my sophomore organic chemistry class, and not pop culture related, but it was a painting I had bought at a local auction, and I consigned it to a place in Boston called Skinner's. And I'm in organic chem. I had the computer on the auction on a second screen, and here's this thing I paid 400 bucks for. I'm watching it sell for like $3,000, and I'm like, what am I doing here, studying compounds when I should be looking for art and collectibles? And I changed. I left UMass Lowell, went to Framingham State to study art history, because I do love everything fine art, decorative arts outside of the world of pop culture, but that is my true original passion. And from there, I teamed up with a local auction house in Rhode Island that lasted 10 years, building a comics and toy department. And then in 2024, I got the bug where or the itch, like, I need to do this for myself. I need to do it for my name. And my wife and I branched off to found Landry Pop Auctions. And July 31st, I want to say, was when the press release came out that we partnered with Rago Wright. And it's been nonstop ever since.
It's funny because my next question to you was there a specific moment you were like, you know what, this is more than a hobby. This is what I want to do in my life. I guess it was that moment with that painting and going to auction. I'm assuming that was it.
Correct. And on top of that, skipping a big part of my career, like, we did little parts fun, but my life goal was always as a kid to get on Antiques Roadshow. I mean, I grew up watching it with my parents on PBS. And it was during my junior year in college, end of junior, going into my senior year. I was still living in my dorm, and it's like I had finally had my break to get on Roadshow at 20. And the first thing I ever appraised on that show was a printer's proof for a Bob Kane lithograph of the Joker playing with Batman and Robin as puppets. And, getting on Antiques Roadshow, now being on there for 9 seasons, has really helped, just accelerate building the brand. Knock on wood, I'm very thankful for the opportunities I've been able to have over the course of my life. And it's just helped to build me to this stage where I needed to do something for myself and build my own brand.
It's funny because we're going to segue into Antiques Roadshow, but it is such a fun watch. I really enjoy watching that show. Like What is it like stepping into that world for the first time? And it's funny you say that, like, you always wanted to be on that show and you made it a reality, but stepping on that set for the first time and being a part of that, what was that like?
Honestly, it's crazy. Like even the thought still today gives me goosebumps. It was Green Bay, Wisconsin, season 22, filming in 2017. And it's like to walk in, and this is when the show was still in convention centers. Now everything is filmed in outside locations. And it's like that first feeling walking in the day before filming, and here are all these people, basically for 20 years of my life that I've watched on TV at home with my parents. And it's like, whoa, to be there with them was pretty crazy, because before me, it's like the next youngest appraiser on the show was in their late 30s at the time, mid to late 30s. So me coming on 20, I'm the first person younger than the show, and I'm bringing in a whole new category. Like comics had appeared on Antiques Roadshow, obviously toys like older cast iron and tin, but there never really was a dedicated person there for comics, trading cards, Star Wars, He-Man, all that great stuff. That's my jam. And so now and that's why I joke. It's like you look at my rookie photo. It's like first year on Roadshow, I wore a salmon blazer. I had a bow tie on. I'm thinking I have to do and they've allowed me to evolve into my crazy self to represent our hobby.
Yeah, it really is a great show. So if anybody doesn't know what Antique Roadshow is, it's a show. It's still on PBS, right?
Yeah, PBS Monday nights. We're in the middle of the new season now, season 30. I just had last week. It was a Dream Team basketball, 1992 Olympics that
Oh
aired.
my
I
God.
had a collection of original Kenner Star Wars. So knock on wood, I had a lot of action this season. So yeah, it's 30 seasons deep. We're already getting ready to film again for next season. And the big thing I always like to put out there is, contrary to other reality TV shows. I mean, I worked on one myself. I was on Toy Hunter. It is the only show that is truly not staged, where we are out there. We go into a city, they hand out X amount of tickets. Every ticket is good for 2 items to walk through the door. And when we're at that table, you come up with something great. It's my job to be like, whoa, hold on. Before I say anything, are you interested in going on camera? And from that point in time to get a producer and pitch to when we are actually in front of a camera, I've never had more than typically 45 minutes to an hour. So we have no idea what we're going to see. When it's something great, we have to be able to recognize it, identify, get all the facts, get the evaluation, and present that total package you see in a very short amount of time. Because most people always think, oh, it must be staged. They know what they're getting. No, we have no idea. We show up in a city, tickets are handed out. People come in through the triage process first, where you go to clocks, you go to furniture, you go to collectibles. And then from that point, after triage, you get to the tables with the on-camera appraisers. And we have no idea. It's excitement. Every single person that
Oh,
walks up is a
wow.
total wild card. So that's
That
always my big thing I love to plug about the show, is it's a real experience. It's real people, real items, and real stories that we get to tell.
that That's amazing. It's funny because this is the second time I was going to ask you a question and you just answered it. Because I was going to ask, like, what's something about Antique Roadshow that we wouldn't know, like behind the scenes, that you could share? And just knowing that people are coming on a lot with their items and you have to stop, write it down, like, holy crap, this is amazing. Do you want to be on camera? That was something I would never think about the show. That's great.
Yeah, and one of my favorite experiences, comic related, on the show was, this was maybe 3, 4 seasons ago at this point. I had an older gentleman in his 80s who shows up with his original childhood copy of Amazing Fantasy 15. And he's the type of guy, like, not internet savvy. He doesn't understand grading, doesn't really comprehend. Like, he knows it's important. He knows it's the first Spider-Man. He lived it, but he doesn't really know the value. And his story build up to me was like, he brought it to a local comic book shop, maybe a year or two ago. They offered him, I forget what he says, either 2,000 or 2,500 for the book. And it's like, when I was able, and it was a rough copy, but obviously complete, presentable, cover attached. And it's like, for me to be able to tell him, 18 to 24,000 or whatever the number, that was the range of 99%. It was 18 to 24 at the time. And it's like, it was electric. Like, that feeling, the excitement, the onset of the pressure for someone to be there, to know it's real. And it's, and because the other thing with Roadshow is no business is conducted there. absolutely, there is like zero tolerance for any of the appraisers, for anybody who tries to conduct business. Like, we're going there to educate, to inform, to evaluate, and you're getting the facts, you're getting the real deal. And that's what Roadshow is all about.
That's amazing. So on the flip side, you gave us a story about someone who didn't know what something like an AF-15 and low grade was worth. Have you ever had to like gently break to someone bad news and be like, you know what, who thought their item might have been worth a lot that you're like, ah, you know what, it's kind of really not?
Oh, all the time. That is the best. And it's like, there's some people who take it in stride and they're like, yeah, that's what I figured. But then there are people that are so adamant that you were wrong and you have no idea. And one of my favorite memories of this type of story is someone comes up, their father worked for the Coca-Cola company for like 50 plus years. And as part of his retirement package, he was given this plastic alarm clock about this big that flipped up. It was like little Coca-Cola bottles in it, battery operated. And, you know, this lady was convinced that this was some extremely rare presentation alarm clock for 50 years at Coca-Cola. And the crazy part is I literally have one of these in my house. I have one of these clocks. They're so common. You can find them on eBay for like $10. It's no big deal. And like, so adamant I'm wrong. I have no idea what I'm talking about. Like, this is the most important piece of Coca-Cola memorabilia. And it's a 90s battery operated alarm clock made in China worth a $10 bill. And you have that. Like, I can't fix that. No matter how hard I try to deliver that message, I can't bring it home. And whatever, that person leaves like upset or irritated, but at the end of the day, they get told the truth, and they'll always believe that we were wrong and they have this amazing, impressive piece. But it's there's people out there that believe everything.
All right, so Landry Pop Auctions. I know, and I know you used to work for a different auction house, and you just decided to branch out on your own. And I got to be honest with you, you said when it was started. When did you guys actually found it and go into business?
So that we ended end of July is when like the press release hit, and we had announced that I had partnered with Rago Wright to become part of their network to launch Landry Pop. Our first auction was October of 24, like our big inaugural sale where we showed all the different categories we were going to handle. And now we fast forward already to 2026. We're going on like in the calendar our 40th auction. We were able to handle the Paperboy collection last year, which was incredible, with a fresh Tech 27 and the highest grade 31. It's just been non-stop. Like, I feel so, I have no other way to describe it. Like, I can't be thankful for the collections and the people that have come to us. And it's just, you know, our approach to auctions is a little different, or a lot different, compared to the conventional, you know, comic collectibles auction house and what we cater to and what our mission is. And it's just the hobby is receiving it very well, or very receptive of it. And it's showing that in bidder support and consignor support. I mean, Lawrence, we got to handle a great book for you. So, I mean, Team Landry is building. I'm very thankful for it.
Absolutely. And I think from my perspective of a lot of collectors out there, especially comic guys, I know a lot of people in this space, trust is a big issue when it comes to, you know, deciding to consign your book with anybody. And I had a great experience with you actually standing in this room with me talking about it. So just that experience alone was a really great time. But I want to ask you this. You guys have had a strong start. You mentioned a Tech 27, which is a wild story. I saw the posts and everything on Instagram, everywhere. The Tech 31, my Batman one, a few other books. What was the vision when you first started this?
So the vision for LPA, and this is going to sound corny, but my end goal in life when I look back 20, 30 years from now is I want to build the Sotheby's equivalent, near equivalent for pop culture. Now, obviously, there are massive companies out there that have been selling comics for 25 plus years, but they're high volume. You know, they're pumping out thousands of books in every single auction. They're putting the same issue with 4 or 5 different grades, sometimes only separated by 0.2, right? They'll sell 9.6, 9.4, 9.2 of, say, an ASM 129. The appreciation or the focus on design, marketing, how the items are presented. in my mind, when you scroll through a comic auction or a Star Wars auction, it should be no different to when we're selling great Shepard Fairey prints or an Andy Warhol suite. I mean, these things are material culture on the verge of fine art at this point, especially when we look at original comic art and toy related art. And it's just, I felt nobody was giving that care and attention to this material. I mean, it's out there, right? When you look at the other auction houses, it's not bad. Their model is different. They want to be high volume. You scroll through a list of thumbnails, you get a scan. But for me, I want to really focus on the presentation, the marketing, and that when you look at the Landry Pop website, every comic on there gets a feeling that it's special, especially when it comes to what we consider our tier 2 and tier 1 auctions, icons and heroes being tier 2 and the vault tier 1. And it's like you just scroll through the animations that pop out, the added content, the stories that we give, and just the overall presentation is what I really strive for.
I agree with you. The site itself is absolutely beautiful. It's from the
Thank you.
colors,
Thank you.
the pop. I mean, I was looking at it last night, and the first thing you see when I logged onto the site was this beautiful yellow background with I think it's a Captain America. I forgot what the issue was, the white issue with him running through it. Oh my God, it was such a great
109.
shot. 109. So such a
109,
great
yeah.
shot as soon as you get on the page, and it just really pop. 100%. If you guys are listening to this and you haven't checked out Landry Pop Auctions, all the great books they do have, make sure just check out the site at the bare minimum. But I have to ask you this. Has the process, experience, and outcome met your expectations so far?
Oh, it's absolutely blown it away. Because one of the big things I always encountered before where I worked is like everybody knew to dealt with me, like Travis. Everybody knew me, but they didn't know who the owner, the operator was. So I always had that barrier to entry with a lot of consigners and bidders. But now that you're dealing with me, it's my name on the business. And like you said, Lawrence, I come to you, we do the consignment contract, we do everything. I've felt a lot of people are really receptive to working with us. And the other thing where we've really been striving is just simple customer service, responding to emails on time, letting consigners know when their items are coming up for auction, doing the process soup to nuts, beginning to end of taking in a raw collection, getting things pressed, cleaned, graded. Knock on wood. Yeah, it's wild to think that we are going on 17 months of Landry Pop. We're almost at the 1.5 year mark at this point. And knock on wood, look, I can't say that enough. I'm going to repeat it all night tonight, is that the collections have been coming in. Competition has been fierce. Like, I definitely feel there's a target on my back to some extent. And we're never going to win all the deals. We're never going to win them all. There's always going to be people that go in different directions, which is great. That's the world of competition. And that's what keeps businesses honest and on the up and up, is that when there's competition, to keep everybody in check. But no, I mean, it's a strong start. In my mind, I always worry that, it's going to slow down. When's the next collection? But we teased it already. And like coming up in May, last year, we had the Paperboy collection. Coming up in May, we're calling it the Dixie Cream collection. Original owners, Silver Age marbles coming out of Georgia. And I'll drop it here because the video hasn't hit on CGC yet. But out of this collection, we'll be offering truly the finest copy of Fantastic Four issue 2, first appearance of the Skrulls, in 9/8 with white pages. It is one of 2 in 9/8 on the census. The other one has off-white, pure white page copy. But I mean, this collection, FF1 and 8/0, Journey into Mystery 83, 8/5, the whole run of Fantastic Four, super high grade. The number 1's an 8. The number 3's an 8. I mean, I think the worst one in the run, unfortunately, was the Doctor Doom book, and it came in at like a 7/0. It's just had some really rare Golden Age in there, some Marvel Mystery 10, had a Pep Comics, like the iconic German cover with the swastika with the hands coming up out of the fire. So, I mean, every time I get worried that something is not going to come to fruition, or I'm worried we're not going to hit a big collection, there it comes. So, I don't want to jinx it, but it's
100%.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm 30 years old, right? I turned 30 this year, which was like a big mind thing for me. Because for what I did between 20 and 29, I was like, what are we going to do next? but it's like, I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. God forbid I get hit by a bus. So it's like there's a lot of building and a lot of ground to cover, and it's just the beginning.
Wait till you get 40, brother. I'm telling you, it's a different
Oh
feeling.
no, no, I don't want to rush. Please, I already feel like I'm 40. God,
But
no,
but but
I'm trying to ride the wave of 30 as long as possible.
let me speak to something you said a little earlier, because I have experience, obviously, because obviously I sold a book through LPA. The biggest compliment that I can give you guys is that me and you talked about when we were here, and then afterwards, after you left, about what's best for the book, what's best for the sale, what could we do to kind of get the most value out of the book and make sure that I'm comfortable, the seller's comfortable. I'm sure it's the same way when you're a buyer as well. That to me, like, kind of made me feel at ease. So that's one thing I can 100% speak to for people who are thinking of kind of consigning their books to auction houses, is that I was completely taken care of from top to bottom. So I give you guys kudos to that, man.
Thank you, Lawrence. That's what I want to hear. That is my goal. At the end of the day, I want everybody to be happy. People ask me, like, how big do I want LPA to grow? And I want to handle the best books. I want to handle them all the time, as frequent as I can. But I personally have no desire to have, 12 offices across the world, as great as that would
Yeah.
be. But I like being a boutique niche spot where we sell quality, we sell it right, we represent it, and we're going to get you all the money. Plus, I mean, there are things on our platform when you look at the sales results that blow me away. And I still talk about it, is we had a AF15 in 3.5, and like market average on GPA for that book was anywhere from 28 to 32,000. And in our Icons and Heroes sale, day 2, because again, we're live, it's all video streamed. You're watching the auctioneer. It's not a timed countdown with a digital voice. And it's like, we got 43,000 for a 3.5 AF15 in 2025. I mean, that's a price that was near peak COVID level. There was only one other result higher, and it's like it was paid for, shipped out within 2 days, happy customer. And because I also credit to that, we get some weird crossover where people that are Rago Right customers who might buy Andy Warhol, they might buy Danish design, or maybe they buy watches, jewelry, whatever it is. They're now seeing the LPA sales on the Rago Right network, and we're getting different end users that might not be totally plugged into the hobby, but they're like, whoa, I remember reading Hulk 181 as a kid. And if I'm going to spend, 7-8 grand on a Danish chair, why can't I spend 5 grand on a comic I had? So there's some great customer crossover with that too.
So is that the item that book, is that like the one item that has surprised you how much it sold for at auction? Because that was one of my questions as well.
No, I post them time to time of things that blow me away. And sometimes it's the littlest things. Like we had the 80s Star Comics, Marvel, like Mad Balls 1, Care Bear, all those different things, all newsstand copies. It's like we got 800 and change for a Mad Balls 198, where all the data proves it should be like a $200 thing. And it's like, wow, and I credit the difference in those results, especially for lower value thing, because like top 1% items, auction is not there to to like create the value of those high end items are proven, right? We know what they are. But when we're selling the everyday, the lower value material on the Wednesday night sale, especially, that value add of entertaining, right? You're not just watching the digital countdown, you're hanging out with me. I'm doing a podcast style similar to this against my comic wall. Got my microphone out. We're talking about the books. And I feel that value add really helps the difference of a comic selling for 175 or 350. And the other thing that I find that we have a really unique kind of skill set for selling, and I don't know, maybe I'm opening like my secret sauce here because I don't want people to overthink it, but late Bronze Age and early Copper, modern in 9.8 that are low population, right? Like we had a random Jonah Hex, some mid-run issue 9.8, one of 3, and it's like all the data for that book, it should have been like $100 thing, and we ended up getting like $350 for it. Again, a $350 comic, low hanging fruit in our world at the end of the day. But the entertaining value factor, saying it's one of three in its population. It's a 9.8, everybody, getting people excited. I think that's where our platform really strives.
I think a lot of the collectible space right now is based on entertainment value. If you have the ability to entertain and sell and talk about the item that is available for sale, that is like the trifecta, because you're bringing knowledge, you're bringing entertainment, and you're bringing the product itself. And I think that's a big hit when we're talking about collectibles right now in this market. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask you this question, because you have been in the collectibles game for basically your entire life. But what makes a great pop culture auction item in your eyes? Like, what separates something cool from something special?
So, all right, great example. Something cool is like, a Hulk 181 in 9.8. Yeah, it's great. It's the Flash. There's over 100 of them. I think it's even over 150 of them in this point in 9.8. And I get it. First full Wolverine killer cover, but it's not necessarily special. Like, in my mind, if I were to compare, and I shouldn't say that because I'm selling a Hulk 181 in 9.8 right now. You're getting Brutally Honest Travis, everybody. It's like, that's a great book. I love it, but there's a lot of them out there. But it's vanilla ice cream. Whereas you look at, a Hero for Hire 1 in 9.8, or you look at a Werewolf by Night 32 in 9.8, where these books are older, right? Hulk 181 is 1974. Hero for Hire and Werewolf by Night 32, I believe they're both 1972. And the populations are literally like a tenth. Like, there's in 9.8, a Hero for Hire 1 black cover, there's less than, I gotta say off the cuff, less than 30 of them. Same thing for a First Moon Knight. I mean, wicked rare, low pop 9.8, and they are a fifth of the cost of what you're going to spend on a 181. And to me, that's cool. Real rarity. 181 is a book that in 1974, when it came out, comic collecting has already been in near full swing. I mean, values were not crazy, but your first Comic Cons are in the early 60s. So by the time you get to 74, and a book like that comes out, Wolverine on the cover, major character, people are already buying them to put away. So it's like the fact that you can get great first appearances with a fraction of the population for a fifth of the cost, that is cool. Or another thing for me is like, I always say it during my auctions, they don't all have to be keys. Like, to just have an unbelievable Strange Tales, 103 or 104, right? And have it in super high grade where less than 15 of these things exist, and you can pick them up for $1,000, $1,500. Like, that's a great quality comic, prime Silver Age Marvel. It's like, this is what I run crazy about all day. It's like a book I recently picked up for my PC was Fox Feature Syndicates, Eagle One, right? This is like, basically, it's the equivalent of Captain America before Cap. It was a 6.0 book, wicked scarce. As a 6.0, it's like top 15 or top 10. There's less than 30 universal grades at all on the CGC census. It's like, I picked that book up for $3,000. I mean, that, to me, that feels like a lot of comic for $3,000 compared to what else you could buy for $3,000.
True. True. What about experiences? Obviously, that Tech 27 was kind of all over IG and all over a lot of places you find in that. But can you talk about some of your experiences that you've had finding some of these crazy items go up for sale at LPA?
Yeah, I mean, I could talk about the Georgia collection, Dixie, and the reason we're calling it Dixie Cream is because this guy funded buying his comics in 1961 and up by selling Dixie Cream donuts door to door in Georgia. Which I guess that was a thing. Some kids sold newspapers in Georgia. There was a company to sell donuts door to door. And it's like, I walk into this guy's house, original owner stuff. These books now at this point have been around for 64, 65 years, not bagged and boarded, still raw in like what we call a barrister bookcase. It's like a shelving unit where they stack, and they have these glass doors that you pull up and slide in. And there were the books all in stacks. And it's like, to walk into this guy's house to see this collection, and for a Fantastic Four #2 to be sitting around for 64 years or 65 years at this point and to get a 9/8 white pages, it's like, how does this exist? But it does. It's all out there. I mean, these books are printed in runs of hundreds of thousands, and there are collections like that out every day, and that's what keeps me motivated, right? The hunt and the thrill, what is it? The thrill of the hunt, right?
Yeah.
And it's like to talk to that guy and hear his experience of buying these books. And the big thing was his story that blew me away. He loved Incredible Hulk. His issues of Hulk 1 through 6 are absolutely destroyed. 3.0, 4.0, 2.5, because he loved Hulk. All the other comics he bought, he didn't like the stories. He just liked the visual appeal of the cover. And so it just meant it left for unbelievable grades. I mean, some of these books, it doesn't even look like the cover was ever lifted. It's like they're so perfect. And yeah, like those are the stories that they keep me going. It's like creates goosebumps. It's like that's why I say I've never grown up. I'm just still like a 13-year-old kid doing what I've done, except now I'm 30, overweight with a beard.
I got to tell you, man, this must be the most incredible job, because as a nostalgia guy like me, who I absolutely love the things that I grew up with, and I come back to I come back to them as an adult now just to talk about them and relive them. And that's really what I think collecting is. But to be able to do what you do is gotta be just very fulfilling. I will say that. All right, so let's talk about the current items that LPA has for sale, or auction, I should say, right now. You have some massive, massive books, stuff that we as collectors do not get to see every day. So first, you have your comics and art auction that ends on February 4th. Can you talk about that auction and a few of the books that are available?
Yeah, so the February 4th sale is our what we consider a tier 3. It's a Wednesday night auction. It's packed with a lot of like lower grade, like Silver Age keys that people love, modern stuff. There's some great group lots in it. So Wednesday night, February 4th, it's a 6 p.m. Eastern start time, and that is basically our outlet for anything that's like 2000 and under. We do put a couple good books in there. It's a much more casual. I'm hanging out here. My wife's doing the bookkeeping. We have 3 people running internet bidding, and it's it's a real auction. We're doing it, but we're also joking at the same time. It's definitely a more informal podcast style. So yes, that is it's 2 days from now. It's February 4th coming up. Wednesday night, 6 o'clock, LandryPop.com. But the big one is February 10th, which is like exciting and nervous all in the same breath to have 66 books of that caliber crossing the block one day. It's a little nerve-wracking.
We're going to get to the big vault auction in a second, but I want to tell you guys, by the time this podcast comes out, it will be Wednesday morning. So tonight, guys, check out that February 4th auction. You never know what you may find in there, which you may end up actually loving. So the big boy, the vault, which ends, like you said,
Yes.
February 10th, crazy stuff. Talking Detective Comics #1 in a restored 7.0, Action Comics #1 in a restored 5.0, Batman #1 in a restored 9.2, and then the big boy, in my opinion, the AF-15 Blue Label 9.0. Talk about some of these amazing books and how they came about to you as well.
All different outlets, right? So, for example, the Action Comics one and the Detective Comics one, both coming from people in our community, dealers, collectors that work in the trade. They were consigned to us pre-graded. The Detective one, though, when it was consigned to us, was in like a first-gen CGC holder. So we made sure we resubmitted to get a fresh case on it, because that book is beautiful, right? Even though it's a purple label. I mean, think of it. It's Platinum Age. I know the title, we go golden to modern, but 1937 technically counts end of the Platinum Age, and that's the book, right? Detective One. That's where DC Comics gets its name from, ultimately, to change from National Publications. And to handle that, it's wicked rare. And 7.0, I mean, you look at that, you look at the red, it teleports, it's so sharp, it pops. Other book, there's a Wonder Woman 1 blue label that's beautiful, 7.5, that came in from a collector. But the AF-15, I mean, yeah, that is, I thought in my last vault back in September, we had an 8.0 AF-15 that was graded on site at Heroes Con. And I was like, wow, this is like next level. I can't believe we're handling an 8.0 AF-15. And that brought 282,000. And it's like, here we are 6 months or not even, 7 months later from that September auction, and a 9.0 walks in the door. And to hold that, it's like you see an AF-15, it's AF-15, but to hold one in that quality, that is arguably the same condition it came off of the newsstand. And it's just like, wow, it gives you goosebumps. And it's a book that, a curator copy did sell in 2024, but the last time a regular straight up blue label, according to GPA, obviously there's private transactions, things that don't get listed, but it's been since 2017 when you look on GPA that a 9.0 has sold. So it's it's a lot of pressure, right? Like, eyes of the market are on us, because that 2017 result was 390,000 and change, but that's a totally different world. That's pre-boom.
Yeah.
And it's like, if this would have came up 2 years ago, or 3 years ago at this time, if this would have came up during the pandemic, it's arguably 750,000 plus. I mean, back then an 8.5 sold for 550,000. So right now it's sitting, at the time of us recording this, it might change by Wednesday. It's currently sitting at 340,000. When you factor in the buyer's premium, it's just about at last sale right now on the AF-15 at 390 and change. But I don't know where it's going to go. I mean, it's not like AF-15s and 9.0 grow on trees.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're a serious player and you want a book of that caliber, I mean, this is the day to shop it, to buy it, And like, another thing that it's arguably just, not as important. Obviously, it's Spider-Man. But like, if we're talking about rarity and special, there's a Brave and the Bold 28 in that auction, 9.2. And this is a freshly graded copy. This is a book that was brought to us raw and was graded in 2025. And it's like that to surface, first Justice League of America, 9.2, one of 5, only 2 higher. And again, you look at GPA, that book hasn't sold for a public result posted on GPA since like 2012. And back then it was 120,000. And here we are, like, and that's the thing at Landry Pop, is everything is there to sell. It is going to the highest bid. We are a no reserve auction house when it comes to the comics. Everything is there to sell. And it's like, right now it's sitting at 50 grand opening bid. And like, to me, it's like, that is a book to buy, man. Only 5 in that grade. It's 1961. It's early DC Silver. And it's like, what a book. An AF-15 and 9.2, that would be $1 million plus right now, easily. And it's like, here you get Brave and the Bold 28 First Justice League for like 100 grand. It's like, oh my God. If I had, like, that's a book, if I had endless money, that's something I would buy.
That's wild. I think you said there was only 5 and a 9.2 and 2 higher for that book. That's it?
Yes. 5
Wow.
and 9.2, 1.94 and 1.96. And the 9.6, I believe, sold maybe 2 years ago for like over 800,000. So like, to me, that's a book to buy. When we go to the Bronze Age stuff, Hulk 181, 9.8, Werewolf by Night 32, 9.8, Hero for Hire 198. And then what I think, again, talk about historical significance, right? If you want prime history, like unbelievable quality, there's a book called Ebon issue 1, which is a San Francisco underground comic. Was extremely limited print run from when it came out. It is the first comic book ever written, illustrated by an African-American man. The character main title, it predates Hero for Hire 1. So like, the first black superhero that comes out, we have Black Panther, but his solo title didn't come out till later in the 70s. So this is like such a cultural significant book. 1 of 1, 9.8 white pages. Again, freshly graded. This book came out raw, of a collection in Sacramento, California, that required a 26-foot truck from Sacramento back to Mass to move this collection. Wow. I mean, it was over 500 long boxes. And this was in one of those boxes, raw, untouched, graded, 9.8 white pages. And it's like, what's it worth? How do you put a value on that? Because the only recent data point is like an 8.5 for $4 grand. So I put it up there at 20 to 30,000. It got a bid right away at the opening bid of 10. But look at that. Look at the history in that book. Look at the rarity. And as an underground comic, it's newsprint. So it's very it's subject to condition issues all the time. And they just don't exist. The book is a ghost. So that is one to look at. And then finally, we always ended out with Modern Age, which, God, imagine if this book sold during COVID. It's Avenging Spider-Man 9, the Miss Marvel book there. It's a 9.8 newsstand, only 9.8 newsstand. And it's like when you look at COVID pricing, a 9.4 newsstand was like 2,200 or 2,300. So here we are. Granted, I know Modern is at the worst point in the market right now, but 9.8 newsstand, Avenging Spider-Man 9. It's like it's the only book in the auction that doesn't have a bid. And I started it at 900. I estimated 18 to 24 because if it wasn't a newsstand, it'd be a $150 comic. And I get that. But you have a 9.4 data point at 2,000 and change from a couple of years ago. So it's like, here's your one of one 9.8 newsstand, and like, here's your chance. It's finding a new home.
A little side note when we were talking about AF-15 before, from not really a history perspective, but a price perspective. So before the big boom in 2020, 2021, AF-15 kind of was like not doing much for a really long time price-wise. And then all of a sudden we had that 9.6 CGC copy that sold. And then all of a sudden AF-15 started to take off. So I believe now where we are is a really great point because the price for that book is kind of settled where it should be. Definitely more than before that 9.6 sold, and a good, at a good pace after that sale. It has come down a bit, but it's right we're at that point right now. And I think AF-15 is a really, really good buy, not only because it's Spider-Man, right? Most popular character there is. We're talking about comics, just because of the history of that character, that book, his creator, all that stuff. But the main thing is that history, when we're talking about collectibles, I feel like that's the missing point that a lot of collectors, when they're buying things or when they're collecting things, they kind of skip over sometimes. Can you talk about the history of some of these things that we go to collect?
Yeah, I mean, for the history, right? Everything, no matter what it is, whether it is a office chair, whether, painting, a vase, a piece of pottery, there's always a story. There's creator. It's how it's manufactured. And it's like when you look at Amazing Fantasy 15 and Spider-Man as a character, I know everybody's going to say, Travis, shut up. We all know the history. But it's like, think of this. Prior to Spider-Man, every hero before it was an older adult. The kids were always for that sidekick role, right? Happy-go-lucky, cheerful boy helping the hero. Spider-Man is your first relatable young kid, dark upbringing, right? No parents. Uncle Ben gets murdered. I mean, he's so relatable. Kid growing up in New York, dealing with high school bullies, chasing the girl that he's hot for. It's like it's the quintessential character made for the 12-year-old boy to read in comic books. And that formula done in Amazing Fantasy 15 had never appeared before. So it's like that is why Spider-Man will always be the number one king of the Silver Age. And granted, also, yes, early 2000s, we have the Tobey Maguire movies that really start putting him on the screen. But it's like, if you boil it down, what's the most important book for the Silver Age of Marvel? It really should be Fantastic Four #1, right? November 1961. Prior to that, there were no Marvel superheroes at the time for the Silver Age. It was all, during Atlas, they were focusing on horror, suspense, crime. And granted, there are the pre-hero books, like Tales to Astonish 13, you get Groot and Ant-Man, Tales to Astonish 27, but it's not the same, right? It's your first Marvel team. It's like that should be the book. Populations are way less, but no, Spider-Man is Spider-Man. And that's why when it comes to how we present these things at auction, especially I've seen it on Roadshow, and I love it when I talk to my older colleagues, so now it's all fun. But there's always been like this weird shadow on collectibles, like, oh, there's fine art, there's antiquities, there's design, there's all these great things, highbrow, and then collectibles are like, oh, those are collectibles, they're fun, whatever, they're not serious. No, collectibles and pop culture are serious. I mean, this is real history that, in the grand scheme of markets and appreciation, it's really in its infancy. When you look at other collectible fields, as dumb as an analogy as it is, period American furniture, right? 250 years old at this point, and even earlier colonial. Impressionist art for late 1800. I mean, these things have 100+ years of collector interest and appreciation. And modern era of superhero starts in 1938. We're not even at 100 years yet. And there's regenerated interest every day. There are 10-year-old kids that are watching movies, playing video games, that when they're 30, 40, 50 years old, they're going to want to buy back that history. And it always comes back to the origin story.
So I have you here. So I'm going to ask you a little bit about the comic market right now, or the market for pop culture, collectibles as it is right now. So from your perspective, what areas of collecting are the strongest right now? We could talk about comics, movie props, memorabilia, sports cards, TCG, whatever it is that is a collectible. What do you think right now is the strongest market?
So my big area that I cover, it's comics, TCG, and toys. Those are my big three. I do video games as well, but that's like my fourth low-hanging thing. Obviously, we'll go category by category. TCG, obviously Pokemon has the world on fire. It never seems to be ending. But to me, Pokemon, when you look at it, when it was released in 1999, it's being released on the back of the success of the Game Boy game, the cartoon, and Pokemon was made to be a collectible, right? Got to catch them all, got to collect them all. And you think back in your childhood, everybody had their binder of Pokemon cards, right? Everybody knew to keep the holographic cards. But how many kids do you actually know like played Pokemon? The numbers are far fewer than when you compare it to a game like Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! And for me, what Action Comics 1 is to the world of comic books, Magic the Gathering is that to TCG, where we wouldn't have TCG or know what that concept is if it weren't for Richard Garfield and Wizards of the Coast taking the influence from Dungeons and Dragons and creating Magic in 93. I mean, it's the first time ever a trading card has an actual application to do something. Right? Baseball cards, there were baseball cards made to be like a regular deck of cards with players on it, but there was never a game. Magic has extremely low populations, and obviously the alpha print extremely limited. Yes, an alpha Black Lotus in Gen 10 is a $3 million card. That is the pinnacle. But you could buy a beta Lotus. I mean, the market right now for strong Magic alpha, excluding the Black Lotus, but the remaining Power 9 and alpha, dual lands, good rares like Shivan Dragon, Wheel of Fortune, Mana Vault. These are cards that I still feel have a lot of room to grow. So as hot as Pokemon is, and that's the hype, I feel there's such a high population for Pokemon. And even though I get it, it's the world's biggest IP, it's the biggest brand in the world. I know that. And I sell a ton of Pokemon and I love it. It's my childhood, right? When the cards came out, I was 4 turning 5 years old. I have still my Game Boy, but I don't know if I would be paying peak prices now for Pokemon if you're looking for upside potential. If you love it and it's your hobby and you want to own it and whatever, and you're into it, that's one thing. But I wouldn't be buying Pokemon now on the speculation for the upside, because I think there is further room for correction. Because, I mean, as someone, again, Landry Pop, small operation. Just since we've opened the door, I've probably graded a dozen first edition Charizards that come out of the woodwork. Now, only one was a 10. But the point is, these cards are still coming out every single day, where compared to Yu-Gi-Oh!, which out of the what I consider the big three of TCG, Magic, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, that market is so undervalued right now. It's similar to Magic in that Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a player's game. And the other big thing is that Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards printed by Konami don't have a core. They're paper through and through, where Magic and Pokemon have a rigid layer in the center. So Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards are further prone to condition problems. And it's like you look at a Legend of Blue Eyes White Dragon first edition, LOB 001 Blue Eyes White Dragon, a PSA 10 is like 35 to 40,000, depending on glossy or wavy. And I know that's still a ton of money, but to compare that to a first edition Charizard that has now brought twice within the last 2 months $500,000, back to peak COVID. I mean, when you look at the Pokemon graph, it is like this. It is one big wave of volatility. I also my understanding and just my experience, the boom of Pokemon had a lot to do with the boom of crypto, taking money out of that, putting it into the cards. But it's like for TCG, I'd be buying great Magic to put away because at the end of the day, that is the game that inspired it all. And I would be buying great Yu-Gi-Oh! 2002 to 2004, the original sets, first edition, as much sealed product as you can, and as many grade 9, 9.5, and 10s as you can get because the prices are so cheap compared to any other game. And I'll say for Pokemon, if I were to say what to buy right now when you look at the different cards that are undervalued, all the Wizards of the Coast era stuff, 99 to 03, always going to be wicked hot. It's the OG stuff. And then you go through the modern era when the licensing reverts back to Nintendo. All the later 2008, 2009, 10, when you get the full art stuff, that is all super hot. But when you look at the original EX period, 2003 to about 2006, 7, everybody is always focused on the gold stars, right? Everybody always wants a gold star. Those are the hottest cards. But 2003 EX Ruby and Sapphire, the first expansion set of the EX period, it's like you can get PSA 10 Blaziken, the green guy. Oh my God. Blaziken, was it Sceptile? Yeah, Blaziken, Sceptile, and Marshtomp. These are e-reader cards. They were tough to get in high condition. PSA 10 populations are so low. It's like you could pick them up for $1,000, 800, 1,200. So it's like if you're going to be a Pokemon person, I would be ahead of the curve. Like I feel Pokemon, the market is a lot of, influencers come out, content's created. This is the hot card. And all I could say is patterns repeat itself and look at the Poncho market. Like Poncho Pikachu, those cards went ballistic for years. And then when the market got to the absolute top, everybody starts dumping. It's a modern era card within the past 10, 12 years. And now prices are just falling like a brick. Buy the stuff that's truly rare and undervalued at the moment. That's my TCG pitch. Sorry, I went on a couple tangents there, Lawrence.
I'm going to flip it around now, and I'm going to ask you something complete opposite. And it's more speculation, but right now, what is something that you think people are sleeping on that could explode over the next couple of years in collectibles?
So totally unrelated, different categories. You're saying something that's not being
anything. It could be anything collectible that you think that people are kind of sleeping on right now that could have a big pop in the next couple of years.
So I'll tell you, this is what I'm buying right now as aggressive, and they are so hard to find in good shape. I think factory sealed Beyblades. That is one of my picks. Let it rip, right? Like the battling tops. Think of it. Beyblades, great anime, manga, unbelievable concept, right? Similar to Pokemon, creatures being cats to fight. But the product, Beyblades, you open it, you assemble it, and they get played. So played with Beyblades, whatever. Open box, sure. But to find Beyblades factory sealed, the original Hasbro period stuff is a big pick for me. Another one, and it's thinking back to my childhood too, it's like Bakugan, right? Think of that, how novel of a concept Bakugan was. Trading card game where you roll this little ball, magnet operated, ball falls on the card, spring monster comes out. Now there already are key Bakugan things that sell for $1,000, $1,200 for the ultra rare, like crazy level things. But nobody's paying attention to the factory sealed stuff. And I really think it's, what makes something a future collectible is a novel idea where when the thing comes out, nobody is thinking about preserving it. So it's like one of my favorite stories is like when you look at Star Wars Phantom Menace, everybody and their brother in 99 thought they found the secret recipe to infinite wealth by just buying Phantom Menace, Star Wars, and Hordes. And it's like, well, no, because now when we're 27 years later, everybody has a tote of Phantom Menace factory sealed, and your figures are worth the same price, if not less than what you paid when they came out. But you know, when I look at comics, where I think of where areas are depressed, you know, I'm a big believer in buying early Silver Age DC, and because when you look at the comparative value of just, you know, what a Batman 181 First Poison Ivy sells for compared to any other Marvel, you know, Silver Age villain first appearance, it's a fraction of the cost. I mean, take a Batman 181 and 85 and compare it to, I don't know, let's pick a book. Spider-Man 9 in 85, first Electro. It's like that Electro book in 85 is like 4,000, give or take a little, depending on page quality. And the Batman 181 is 2,000. And on top of the 181, just being a first appearance, it's wicked hard to find in high grade because it has a pinup. Most kids in 1966 were removing the pinup to put on their wall. So it's like you could get, it goes back to the Brave and the Bold, right? Brave and the Bold 28, 1961, first Justice League 9-2, you know, top 7 copy, one of only 5 in its grade, and it's worth half of what an AF-15 is in 8-0. People want to collect what they consume in media, and if it's relevant and it's hot. So I think Silver Age DC, that is my pick.
For anybody listening out there, you're getting some great insight information from somebody who is in collectibles in this space, and his opinions on where things could possibly go in the future. But I want to ask you a few more insider questions. I'm hoping you can answer them.
Hit me.
What's the biggest mistake you think people make when consigning items to an auction? Are there faux pas that people make? Like, you know what? You know, people don't really understand or whatever.
I mean, consigning to an auction, it can be a scary process if you're not used to it, right? Because the thing with auction versus retail is retail, you're putting a piece out there, you're putting your number on there, and it can sit for a day, it can sit for 6 months. Auction is the way of identifying true value because it's an item put up in the moment. And the thing that is true is you can have the same comic at the same auction house 5 days, Monday through Friday, and every single day I would bet the book almost sells for a different price. Probably not by a lot, but it's good because it depends who's looking at the auction, the advertising put behind it, what the auction is. And you know, that's why it's like there's different ways of play. You have to make sure your item is being put into the right auction. It gets the right treatment, the right level of exposure, because all auctions are not created equally, you know, and there are certain books that will do great at one auction house and do bad at another auction house. I mean, I witness it all the time. I mean, it's a small world. There's some dealers out there that I've worked with over 10 years now, and they'll buy from my auction to put in another. And it's like, there'll be 10 books, you know, out of the 10 books, 6 of them will basically almost break even, you know, maybe a couple hundred either way. There'll be 2 books that it's like, wow, great job, man. You got an awesome flip, you know, and then there'll be 2 books that you took it up the wazoo because for whatever reason at my auction, they were an unbelievable highlight focused on. And then you put it in auction house over here and it's just 1 book amongst 800. So understanding venues, different avenues, what the auction house is going to do for you is important. But I'd say the main thing is working, you know, you want to be able to have an open line of communication. And that is, you know, I have to toot my own horn, but that is really where I've strived and I've landed a lot of deals, is that just being attentive to the customer, what the customer needs. If you have a question, make sure it's answered. You know, you should be able to pick up the phone and talk to your person, talk to your rep and say, what is going on? Because time and time again, I've seen it where an auction house will pitch you promises ABC, and then you're left in the wind and all of a sudden you get result D. And it's like, wow, well, that is not cool. And, you know, I know for a fact, like, again, not every auction is going to be the greatest result, but find someone you like, that you're comfortable with, that you can work with, and just, you know, honesty is the best policy. Whatever they're telling you they're going to do, you should hope to receive that. Plus, that's why my thing is I always want to under promise, over deliver. That is always my goal.
Is there an item you ever came across that you wish you kind of would have kept for yourself instead of selling?
So that is a good question, and the analogy I give, as horrible as I said, I'm probably gonna get roasted for this, but I don't do the drugs. I just sell them. As horrible as that sounds, I'm not trying to be a jerk, everybody, but just if I ran my auction house trying to be this insane collector that kept things and bought things, it wouldn't work, you know? So I love this stuff. I eat, sleep, and breathe it, but I am very thankful that I get to take it in, love it, enjoy it, and find a new home. And that is the joy. And I hate to use that analogy. It makes me sound like a total asshole. And so I apologize in advance. But there are so the way I collect, not to go down this rabbit hole, but if you're curious, how I collect things in my house is I don't collect one area. It's like I want examples of everything. So it's like I always have a personal collection of comics, but I keep a limit where I will never have more than 50 books myself. And I keep it as a revolving thing. And because the other, when I'm buying these comics, I'm buying it from other places. Either I'm at a convention and I buy something, or I'm buying it from a different auction house because I don't bid in my set. That's not what I do. And I don't want that. It gets weird. So like one project I've started is that every major convention I go to, I buy a comic book for my son who is he's 16 months old at this point. He doesn't even know what's going on. But it's like I buy him books all year long, and then at the end of the year, I take that stack of books and I try to trade it for one great key. And then that's going to be Everett's comic collection. So this kid is,
Wow.
again, he's a year and a half. He's going to showcase 22 and 60. He's got an All-American. I forget the issue, but it's like an 8.5, and it's just me having fun with it. I love toys. My big thing is I'm a true believer. I think Star Wars, that as blue chip as Star Wars has already gotten. I'm sorry, going back and forth here, but things to collect. It's like Star Wars has gotten blue chip with rocket firing Boba Fett's, double telescoping Vader, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke on the card. But you really haven't seen the standard production stuff take that next leap. And we look at markets, Star Wars, we're coming on the 50th anniversary of the brand, right? In 2027. We're a year and change away from it. Star Wars toys, especially original 78 through Empire Strikes Back. Nobody was keeping them sealed, right? They were played with. It was a new concept. They weren't collectors. That's why when you get to Return of the Jedi in 1983, there's a lot of sealed examples out there. So I do buy Star Wars. That's like my other thing is that, and it's all, so my kid's bedroom is all Star Wars themed. He's got a big Mandalorian and Grogu on his wall. I'm lining up all along the ceiling graded figures with like double-sided tape. But I'm a big believer and I collect Star Wars. That's my thing.
People who want to get into the collectible space, what is a big misconception that they could have when they walk into the space?
The big misconception is that everything is a great investment. That is not true. I know so many people that have gotten into the space because they're like, oh, it's money making for the future. And that is true. You can 100% speculate, play the market right, and make a ton of money. There was a time, in 2016, 17, 18, I had AF-15, FF1, all the major keys. And then when I saw the market bloom in like 21, 22, out the door they went because everything is replaceable. And for the most part, obviously there's one-of-one art, but for regular things, commoditized, graded toys, comics, there's always another one if you want. But it's like to think that everything you're going to buy is just always going to appreciate is not true. And again, it's like why we study history. There was a time in the world where cast iron banks, things by like J.E. Stevens, were the hottest collectible in the world. And, you'd have like a magician with the hat bank that used to bring 30 to 50,000, especially if it had the original felt on the stairs. And now we're in a world where it's a $10,000 bank. So play this market smart, make money while you can. It is an investment, but also don't fool yourself that what you're buying is the equivalent of, NVIDIA stock or buying treasury bonds or putting money in the bank. I tell my wife, oh, this stuff is money in the bank. But at the end of the day, there are markets that have crumbled and gone almost to nothing. So you just have to be mindful of that. What we deal in, nobody needs to survive. It's not food. It's not gold and silver and a true asset. I mean, they are, anything can happen. So you just have to buy what you like, have a passion for it, enjoy it. But you just got to be smart and don't be naive and thinking that everything you have is going to be worth that amount of money forever, because it always changes.
All right. This is quick hitters. So you're going to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind with no explanation when I ask these. Just 4 of them. All right.
Oh, man, this is exciting. I'm on it, Lawrence.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
What's the most overrated collectible?
Oh, God. Now I'm overthinking. Oh, man, this is tough. I don't know. First thing that comes to mind, God, I am going to be thrown at the fire for this Pokemon.
Most underrated collectible.
God, wow,
These
why is this so difficult?
This is tough on the spot. I'm not gonna lie to you because there's a lot of stuff out there, especially for you.
Because now I'm like regret, because I mean, like Pokemon, yeah, there's a lot of hype, but it's the biggest IP. Oh man, what is the most underrated collectible? Oh wow, I'm like sweating over this, Lawrence, because I wanted to answer I'm thinking to answer accurately of what I feel is the most underrated. Okay. I am going to throw out there what is the most underrated collectible. I am going to say Japanese toys. Japanese toys being kaiju, good die cast like Chogokin stuff from the 70s, because it's a huge market. It's wicked cool. It's the best quality. I mean, if you look at the quality of a Godaikin Tetsujin 28 and compare it to a Transformer or compare it to, any relatable toy, I mean, Japanese toys are amazing, but it's a small world, and I think there should be greater exposure to the world of Japanese domestic market toys.
One item you'd buy today if price didn't matter.
If price didn't matter today, what I would buy?
One item.
I'd buy a rocket firing Boba Fett.
One franchise collectors should always pay attention to. Could be anything.
One franchise collectors should always pay attention to.
Star Wars, Transformers, like one thing that is the thing. Could be a comic, could be Spider-Man, could be anything.
My gut. Well, all right. So pay it. I'm just gonna go. I'll go with Star Wars. I'm gonna stay with Star Wars, and that's coming from a guy who Transformers, at the end of the day, was my core niche. I mean, God, I helped write the last book on G1 Transformers. I mean, that was my jam. It's my thing. And but I think Star Wars ultimately is a bigger brand. And it's funny, when you asked me about a thing I'd buy if money wasn't an option. The reason I picked the rocket firing Boba Fett is because my true grail that I will own one day, I don't know how I'm going to own it, but I will. It is a Transformers Generation 1 VSX gift set. And that is the only time ever G1 Optimus Prime, G1 Megatron were available in one box in Japan. And a cool fact about it is, on that Megatron in the VSX gift set, he has blue inner legs. The plastic of Megatron in his legs are blue, when all the other regular releases are red, and that is an ode to the original microchange color, the precursor to Transformers. But I'll own it one day.
So we're winding this thing down, and I have one more question for you, bud. Where do you see auctions heading in the next 5 to 10 years, especially with online bidding and social media? Any changes in the next 5, 10 years, or what's coming, you think?
So, as you touched upon earlier, I think the thing with auctions that is going to push the industry further is the entertainment aspect, because there are other outlets. There's Whatnot, there's Instagram selling, there are all these things, but I truly feel where the auction house will always be needed is to have representation of big items. Like, the difference for a buyer's security and peace of mind, like, it's a very uneasy feeling to buy something for 50,000, let alone 5,000 online from somebody you don't know, or in like a Whatnot, very informal platform. But the purpose of the auction house, in my opinion, is It provides assurance. This company is standing behind your purchase to where if there's a problem, it's not like the person just disappears, right? Like you deal with the auction house, they have to be credible. They have to back because we're putting our name on it, right? Like everything that sells through LPA is like has a Travis Landry stamp of approval that I represent this item. I stand by how we are representing it. And if you have a problem, you can come to me, call the office, and we are going to rectify it. But I do think that the old school way of just firing out thousands of items with a thumbnail and a digital countdown, yeah, it's worked forever and it will always work. But I think you're leaving a lot of meat on the bone, money on the table with that option. And that's why, I feel with LPA, the way we have the entertainment aspect, the way we are pushing that personal touch to where when you are bidding with us, you feel you were there with me in the room. That's where I think the advantage is going to be for the future. And I'm sure the competition will begin to model that eventually. But I'm happy that we have a head start.
Travis, thank you for coming on the show with me today. Again, I want to say congratulations on all your success that you've had and all the future success you will have going forward. And of course, the two big auctions are going to end, one February 4th and then the big one on February 10th. Tell everybody where they could find you if they want to contact you to either sell their stuff or possibly contact you about buying something.
Yes, please. Always check out the website, LandryPop.com. You can go on there right now, register for the auction. Again, this Wednesday night, tonight, after watching this, we have a 6 p.m. auction. That's our online edition. But then February 10th, the Vault, that is our tier 1, the big boy auction. Again, you register on LandryPop.com. And I am very active on Instagram. That is my platform. You can follow me personally at Pop Culture Travis. And the company is at Landry Pop Auctions. Don't be bashful. Say hi. We're here to work with you. And all I can say is give us a shot. My thing is when it comes to consigning, and I know there's other companies that have been around for 25 plus years. I mean, I'm 30. I'm not going anywhere. This is what I do. It's my only life skill. Let me just show you what LPA can do. That's my pitch. Give us a shot and let us show you the magic.
If you'd like to become a sponsor here on the Mighty Rewind podcast, make sure you reach out at the Mighty Rewind podcast at gmail.com.